Hello everyone, good afternoon and welcome to Roma Theory. Roma 1, Juventus 1. This is your dedicated match reaction. I've got quite a few things to say. First of all, who saw me on their television yesterday? Literally the second after Shomurodov scored that goal. And apparently I got clipped. I got sent clips of me on the screen going, Shomurodov. So yeah, there you go. Quite a few people saw me. I got done by my entire family and by large groups of friends. I'm always a bit skeptical because the chances of going on the television are quite slim, but it's not the first time that it has happened to me. And I'm always like, you gotta be careful because, I mean, thank God that I was celebrating a goal when they caught me, but let's say a camera gets you and clips you and you're like going, you. I mean, you're memed for the rest of your life. So you always need to be on edge when, especially because I'm quite close to the pitch. So it's easier. I'm an easier target for the cameras. But look, right, let's speak about the game. I have a lot of things to say. I actually will probably be part of the minority here. I take a draw. I'll be very honest with you. I take a draw. There are various reasons as to why I think it's a good result. It can always have been better. We could have won the game, and we could have won yesterday's game if we stepped up on the pitch with a better attitude, definitely, because in the first 30 minutes of that game, until Locatelli scored the goal, Juventus basically annihilated us on every point of view. Possession, tempo of the game, speed of the game, intensity of the game. Juventus ate us up in the first 30 minutes. And seeing the attitude that we had stepping on the pitch and seeing the difficulties that we did have facing Juventus yesterday, it's a point which I would not scrap away at all. Look, let's face it, we had to win, yes. We had to win, and as I said in the match preview, winning yesterday, in my strict opinion, would have been way more important than winning the derby on Sunday. I would have much rather win-draw than draw-win. I know it's the same thing. I know it's always, 4 points if you draw one and win one. And, piece of paper that we wrote 1 month ago says Juventus win, Lazio draw. So I know it says that we had to win against Juventus, but I did say that a draw would have been good against Lazio. So I'm not going to cross anything out. I'm going to postpone any crossing out until next Monday, because if we do win the Lazio game, of course, then everything kind of equilibrates altogether. So I'm gonna wait, because if we do win the derby, then I guess it's the same as we said on the piece of paper, just flipped. But winning yesterday would have been more important, because Juventus have got an easy calendar, because Juventus, apart from their game against Lazio and Bologna remaining in these 7 games, they're playing against weak teams. And if it's the Juventus that stepped up yesterday at the Stadio Olimpico, they are going to win those games. So yes, I do think Juventus are the favourites to get that 4th spot. So I would have rather won yesterday, because you would have gotten 3 points. You would have kind of eliminated that gap between us and them. But it's a point which I really would not discard. There are reasons for this, and I'm gonna get onto these reasons in a second. But yeah, how's everybody doing? Thoughts on the game? Let me know in the comments if you're watching after, or in the live chat if you're watching now. I think, first of all, we can't win every single game. We can't win every single game. So I know that people will go, well, Simo, yes, but we can only win games against low quality teams. We always struggle when we have to hire that obstacle and when we have to hire the bar. We're always lacking, we're always lacking that finalization, we're always lacking that tempo, we're always lacking that precision, and ultimately we're always lacking that killer instinct that can enable us to win more direct games. And that is 100% true. But we can't win every single game. I mean, who would have thought going into 2025 that we would be in this position And who would have thought going into 2025 that we would even be considering a placement in the Champions League? What Ranieri has done and what these players have done is a miracle. And it's going to be a miracle even if you get Conference League football. Even if you get 7th, even if you touch any of the 3 European competitions, it's a miracle. Because I understand the frustration. I understand people who go, oh no, a draw is pointless, it's useless, we have to win, we will not get that Champions League spot. And I agree, we had to win. And now that we didn't win against Juventus, that Champions League 4th spot complicates even more. But I say to you, remember where we came from. Because it's very easy now, all of a sudden, coming from 6 consecutive wins to go, oh yeah, Champions League, we must get that 4th position. It's not a good result. It's not a good result because we had to beat them and we must get that 4th spot. I understand it, but remember where we were 3 months ago, 4 months ago. Remember in what position our name was written on the league table. And then I ask you to flash back. I ask you to flash back and go, if you ask for Champions League football, you're wrong. You're wrong. Because to be the 7th of April, even potentially considering a Champions League miracle, is by itself a football miracle. If we get Europa League football, it's a miracle. If we get Conference League football, it's a miracle. Of course we want Champions League. But, you know, if my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle, as James Redman once said. So it's very easy to act on the present, forgetting the past, forgetting the black hole that we climbed to be in this position. And I'll say this again. Champions League football is not our objective. Champions League football, seen a season like this one, and seen the utter complications that we have had this season, is not our objective. Our objective from now until the end of the season, from 2-3 weeks ago, from 1 month ago until the end of the season, is to do one thing. Try to secure a Europa League spot. That's our objective. If we get Champions League football, it's a miracle. But to say that our objective is Champions League football is wrong. Because it's not our objective. Our objective is not to get 4th. I always say this. Remember what Ranieri picked this team up like and where he picked this team up. The fact that we are where we are is by itself a miracle, and I will never be tired of saying this. Of course, we must push for that top 4. We must dream and believe in it. But to say dreaming and believing in it and trying our best to accomplish it and having to complete it because it's our duty, there's an ocean which, you know, goes between these two statements, okay? So I disagree with people who say that we must get Champions League. Fully disagree. Which is why I say I take a draw yesterday. I take it because it means that we're still unbeaten in 2025. It means that, yes, okay, Juventus have been disastrous this season, but Juventus have got a better team than us on paper. And Juventus have got a better team when you apply it on the football pitch. It's always a draw against Juventus. And, you know, it's a completely different Juventus team. Juventus has been disastrous this season because since December, they wanted to sack Thiago Motta. And they really showed that they wanted to sack Thiago Motta in the last 2 game weeks, where they lost 3-0 against Fiorentina and lost 4-0 against Atalanta. Those were the games where the team was like, right, we can't do this anymore. But it's been a while that Juventus and Thiago Motta were doomed to part ways. Okay? And the reason Juventus have been this Juventus this season is because there hasn't been a bond between manager and team. But, I mean, lads and lasses, have we seen the team that Juventus started? And have we seen the substitutions that Juventus pulled on the pitch? I mean, you know, Juventus have a team. Juventus have a constructed team that is easily available and easily doable, and must and had to since the very beginning challenge for the league title. Juventus have got a better team than Napoli. Do we realise this? Because Conte is doing an utter miracle, and because Napoli had always had one game per week this season. Juventus on paper have a much better team than Napoli. Any other season, Juventus would be second in this league table. In this league this season. They've got quality. Now again, they were marginalized in defense. I do think we had to exploit their defense more because their defense yesterday was weak. But the last thing that I want to hear is Juventus, it's a bad result because Juventus this season have been bad, yes. But I probably think yesterday's game was the best game that Juventus played this season. New manager bounce, new manager honeymoon. A game where I'm facing Juventus, who've got a great team on paper, against a Juventus side which is currently living their manager bounce and must get that fourth position. A team that just sacked their previous manager will need a bounce, and we've seen this ourselves. Playing a game against them without Salamakers and Paulo Dybala, I have got nothing to recriminate from that game yesterday. We could have done more, we could have won it, yes. But I do think a draw is a fair result. And now, of course, that we drew against Juventus, we must win the game against Lazio. Because, yes, I don't want to kind of reiterate my own words and contradict myself. Champions League is a dream, is not an objective. Continuing this miracle Champions League dream means that we must win the derby. If you don't win the derby, then I would say that the Champions League dream is over and you just have to focusing and securing that Europa League spot, which would itself be a great achievement this season. So, look, I think what we got wrong yesterday is the only thing that I can recriminate from yesterday's game is the attitude in the first 30 minutes. The attitude in the first 30 minutes yesterday, not good enough. We got eaten up on every single point of view. Every single point of view. Pressing point of view, tempo point of view, intensity point of view, ball possession point of view. They kept on using their flanks, Nico Gonzalez and Cananildes, and we got a headache from that. If it wasn't for Svilor yet again yesterday with a masterclass of a save, we would have lost. So the only thing that I would say, and I didn't like, is the fact that we could have been a bit more brave in the first 30 minutes. And had we been a bit more brave, we could have kind of implanted the game for them in a better way. We could have kind of we could have kind of like dagged them up in a better way. Because the problem with yesterday's game is that with your weak attitude, you let them control the game and therefore the ball. I think if we were a bit more brave in the first 25-30 minutes before conceding that goal, which was a great goal, I can't lie, if we had controlled a bit more, fight a bit more, wanting the ball a bit more, then we could have also forced Juventus to prepare a game in a different way. But again, I mean, I'm not going to touch this. I did put, look, you can read it. I did put Juventus win. I did. I'm not going to lie. I did say that this is Champions League miracle, this sheet of paper. I did say Juventus win, but I also did say Lazio draw. So I'm not going to cross anything in this game week. I'm going to wait till next Monday. Because if we do win the derby, then everything is like it was before. Okay? The last thing which I'll say... excuse me. The last thing which I'll say is... Which is another reason as to why I think a draw is yes, okay, a pointless result, you could argue, but... A result which I take. So... The big difference yesterday, and it's probably one of our problems, is that we lack players, and this has always been our problem. Oh my god, I can't close this water bottle. I hate these lids that they've done. I mean, I'm all for sustainability and stuff, but these stupid plastic lids are something... I've never seen a more annoying thing than this. Okay, there we go. The thing which we lack in these games, because people will go, we're good with weaker teams. We've been good with weaker teams, but we always lack that final jump. We always lack that final consistency jump to bring this momentum also in these big games. And I agree. But look at the team. We lack players that kind of change big games. And that has been our problem with us for a very long while. The only player that can change big games is Dybala. And you can imagine what it is playing these games without him. We lack players. We lack big game players. And that is our problem. And that is why we need investments this summer of this caliber. Of this feeling. We lack players that can get the ball and win you the game with a dribble, with a cross, or with a shot. I look at Sule, I look at Baldanzi, which I'm not criticizing because he played like 10 minutes yesterday. I'm looking at Sule, I'm looking at Dovbyk, I'm looking at Baldanzi, yes, considering yesterday's game, but in general. And even Pellegrini, put him in discussion, even if he didn't play yesterday. These players never really turn up when we need them to turn up. You know, and that's the difference. Juventus have got better quality than us. Juventus have got better quality than us because they've got players that can win you this game, which can win you games, these games. I look at Yildiz, I look at Conceição, which didn't score yesterday, but I think is a phenomenal player. Kefrem Turam in the middle. We lack big game players. Our team without Dybala is a team full of learner drivers, full of young players which want to try and change these games, but never really managed to. Okay? And that, in my opinion, is a problem that we will face. We faced yesterday, we faced in the past, but we will face in the next few direct games as well. Last comment on this match reaction is, of course, a little comment on our league table situation. Well, look, it's a very, very, very entertaining Serie A edition, both on the league title point of view, because Inter, of course, bottled it, and we need Napoli to win tonight. I don't want Napoli to win the league. I hate Napoli, but I care about my football club, and for the sake of my football club, we must need Napoli to win tonight in Bologna, which is not an easy game, because Bologna are the most on-form team in Italy. Yeah, look, it's a very tight league table because Atalanta, all of a sudden, from league title hopes, have been kind of pushed down and they need to be careful. Atalanta need to be careful. Atalanta need to be careful because they haven't won one game at home in 2025. We're playing them in Bergamo in a few weeks. Atalanta have lost momentum. Gasperini will leave. Something has collapsed. We must exploit this. Atalanta 58, Bologna 56 with a game in hand tonight, Juventus 56, Lazio 55, Roma 53. If Atalanta and Lazio had drawn yesterday, I would have celebrated like mad for our draw. The only little nasty cherry on our cake of this weekend was that Lazio win in Bergamo. Atalanta in crisis, good result from Lazio, can't lie. If they had if they'd drawn that game, it would have been a great game week because Fiorentina drew, Bologna might not win tonight, we drew against Juventus and Atalanta drawn against Lazio. We're now in a situation where, speaking about Champions League, next game against Lazio is an in or out for our Champions League hopes. But that doesn't mean that our season is over if we don't win. Because we need and must try and consolidate Europa League. That is very important. It's very, very, very important. Consolidating Europa League is more important than taking the risk to try and get fourth. And then losing games because of that frenzy and getting seventh. The priority is consolidating Europa League. Once we're there, if there's still a chance to push for top four, we can push, we can believe, and we can dream. But I do think that fourth will, I think Juventus will get fourth. I mean, their calendar is just too easy. Again, I don't see this Juventus team slipping much now that they've changed manager. So I do think Juventus are going to get in the Champions League. People will say, can Atalanta crumble? They can. Atalanta don't have an easy calendar. They can crumble, but I don't see Atalanta going from third to fifth. From third to fourth, to sixth, sorry. I really don't. I mean, it can happen. They do have a tough calendar because they still need to play us, they still need to play Bologna, they still need to play Milan in Milan, and they need to still play some relegation teams. But I don't see it. I mean, I don't see it. We're all there. We're very close. Like literally every game week, something can change. But I just can't see Atalanta fumbling it up that bad. I do still think it's that fourth spot that we must look at. And Bologna currently in it. Hopefully they don't win tonight. If Bologna win tonight, it would be a suicide for us. It'd be a suicide hit. We really need to hope that Bologna lose, if not draw. If they win tonight, Lazio, don't worry me. I'll be honest with you, it's a good result. As a Roma fan, I'll admit it. It's a good result in Bergamo. It's always a great result. But they don't worry me because their team is weak. They don't have squad depth and they can't win every single game, especially because they've got the Europa League as well. And one of their priorities will be the Europa League. So, being very honest with you, I'm not just saying this because I'm a Roma fan. Lazio out of them is the one that worries me the least. Yes, because I think that they'll run out of steam. They've already run out of steam. And yesterday's game, well done, but they would not have won it if Atalanta would have been a bit more careful and if Atalanta were not in the crisis. But they did win it, so well done to them. But fuck them, I guess. Right, I'm gonna read a few comments and then I'm gonna leave you. I'm wearing this because I'm off to play tennis, guys. I'm not a weirdo. I don't wear these at home just for the sake of it. I agree. I agree. I take a draw. I think people have been too pessimistic about the draw yesterday. I understand the pessimism, but people forget where we were. People really forget where we came from to be in this position. So I think it's morally and illegitimate to be mad at yesterday's game. Of course I would have rather won, but again, it's a draw which I take. Will be a match vlog? No match vlog, mate. Extremely happy to see you there. Thank you, mate. No match vlog. Hopefully there'll be one on Sunday for the derby. What's your thoughts on Ten Hag as Roma manager? Ten Hag won't happen. It won't happen for the simple reason being that he's been too displayed. The Fredkins don't do these things. The Fredkins are silent. There were pictures all over the internet of Ten Hag and Wrench at Trigoria today. He's not going to be your manager. He was just a guest. There is no... If no pictures had been uploaded on social media of Ten Hag visiting the Olimpico, Ten Hag visiting the training ground, I'd have believed in the rumors. But it's not going to happen because if there's one thing that the Fredkins do very well is keep everything silent. And there is no way that they would have kind of caught their new manager on 4K like this. No. So I thought about the rumors as well, but then as soon as everybody kind of took videos, pictures, and his agent himself posted a picture of him and Wrench today, it's not going to be him because our next manager is probably done and is probably very secret. Champions League is possible, even Atalanta is feeling the pressure. Champions League is possible, yes. It's not over, but it is hard. It definitely is hard. Great game from Shomurodov indeed, yes. Right, guys, I can't read many comments because I have to go play tennis and I do need to go and play tennis because I gotta go and move a bit. Come back tomorrow, live stream tomorrow, yes. Bring your comments back tomorrow and we'll have a chat tomorrow. It's a big week. It's derby week. What a massive derby we have. It's one of the most important derbies that I've ever seen. I always say this because every derby is important, but on a league table point of view, this derby is absolutely massive. Cannot wait for it. We'll be there on Sunday. But we've got this full week of preparation, of stomach cramps, of nausea, all that derby shit. Right, I'll catch you tomorrow. Hit the like, subscribe, 100 likes. If you saw me on television yesterday, that's your challenge for you. And I'll catch you tomorrow. Forza Roma sempre. We build, we grow, and we must never stop believing and dreaming. Forza Roma sempre. Simo out.